Yo, what up, world? It's your boy Big Life. There's a topic I want to talk about that's not really talked about much, but it affects a lot of households more than you would think. And that is when you find out or you are curious to know if your parents are a narcissist, mother or father, learning how to understand and make peace with your childhood is one of the most healing and empowering experience you could ever go through. Um, as a son, I'm the son of an alcoholic mother, and there are so many things that were just so out of line now that I think about it. First of all, when you're a boy, like, you don't want to be the man of the house. Like, that's emotional abuse. Like, I will never tell my son that he's going to be the man of the house because that will set him up for constant disappointment for him as a child to be put on a pedestal to be a man. Like, he's gonna sabotage his entire life pretty much, and he'll always feel inadequate, and that's what I felt. Because as a child, I was the man of the house, and there's times now where I feel like I'm inadequate, but I've gone through a lot of self-empowerment, self-fulfillment, and self-development courses that I feel like I'm a whole different person, and there's a lot of things I've learned, and I just want to share them with you guys. The thing about children of a narcissistic mother or father is that often it contributes to something known as a shamanic terminology, or like a soul loss. It's the inability to contact or experience our souls due to unresolved wounds, traumas, and fears that we've accumulated over the years. The first step in healing this soul loss is to be willing to explore what we went through as kids. This process of exploring the narcissistic action of your parent, it isn't done to condemn them or to make them feel bad, or God forbid they become victims again. Um, it's instead, the process is done to help you understand the root cause of any pain you're still experiencing, and to learn how to release it and to move on with your life, because this becomes a strengthening and rejuvenating process, and hopefully you'll get to do this if you recognize, any of the things that I'm going to express to you right now. Um, the thing about having a narcissistic mother and or father is that you've been taught to believe that you, the child, you are the crazy one, you are the imbalanced one, you are the one that is just not right, instead of them. This causes you to constantly doubt yourself and the feelings you have about them. So, like, the feelings you have about your parents, you don't even know if they're right or not, because you doubt yourself so much that you can't even ask your parents, because they'll just give you a completely twisted answer about themselves. And another major sign of being raised by a narcissist is the constant guilt you struggle with. In other words, while you might suspect that there's something not right, something's off about my parents, there's something weird. Like, why does she have, or he has, this constant pattern of relationships, and the way she puts them on a pedestal, and like she feels like she's in the fantasy world, and at the end she just throws them away, and then the other party is completely in love still, and the other party doesn't know what's going on, and the other party gets angry, rage, and wants to express themselves, and now they look like the crazy one. So keep that in mind. And there's two main kinds, and then I'll tell you all the types. There's two main kinds of parental narcissism. Engulfing narcissist. These are parents who see their children as extensions of themselves. In other words, engulfing narcissist parents become obsessively involved in your life to the extreme extent, like always playing sports. They don't respect your boundaries or acknowledge you as a separate person. Like, you always have to have a scheduled life. Always schedules like this and that, and there's never a sense of calmness. There's never a sense of, hey, let's kick back and relax. There's just a bunch of things going on, because it's really hard for the parent just to sit still, or even to sit still by herself or by themselves. Like, they have to have constant companionship. The second type is going to be the ignoring narcissist. These are parents who have very little interest in their children. Ignoring narcissists clearly see the boundaries between themselves and their children. As a result, they neglect to take care of their children or even show any active interest in their lives. Like, Like that's pretty sums it up right there. Here are a few signs that'll show you if you do have narcissistic parents. They try to control you through codependency. In other words, you were told by your parents that don't leave me. I need you. I can't live without you. This made it impossible for you to live. It makes you. It's hard for you to live like a autonomous life or establish independence priorities other than catering to the needs of your parents. So you're always making sure your parents are okay, and they're not really making sure to see if you're okay. I mean, as far as materialistic things, having material things for you, buying you this, buying you that, but not sitting down and asking you, what is it that you're feeling at the moment? Like, what do you feel? Or you could have a child that's constantly depressed. You could be taking drugs. You could be smoking. You could be hanging around with people that are just up to no good, and your parents don't ask you. They'll pass judgment. They're like, oh, but I don't like him. Just don't make sure he doesn't come to the house. But they're not really asking you like, what's going on? Like, talk to me. Like it's like you guys are roommates. Um, they lay on the guilt trip really thick. Like they make sure you feel like you fucked up. That's going to be another method of controlling you constantly. They give you a guilt trip into doing what they want. So they may have told you, I've done so much for you. I've sacrificed everything for you. As a result, you feel in debt to them. And so you owe them like a complete obedience. You don't tell your kids that. Don't tell your kids that. Just like in a relationship, like you don't say, oh, I gave you everything. You cannot give everything to somebody. It's give and take, give and take, give and take. That's how it is. And you don't want to do this to your friends if you are a child of a narcissist, because you'll feel like you'll give a certain amount of attention to your friend, and your friend, he knows that it's give and take, and you're not reading the signs properly, and you're pretty much cutting ties with this person because he doesn't understand you. No, you weren't understood, first of all. So, and that goes back to your parents being like that. They only love you when you did what they wanted. Your parents withdrew love very easily. If you failed to do what they wanted, they would either punish you severely or give you the silent treatment. And we all know that silent treatment is the worst emotional abuse ever. It's pretty much torture. You had the impression that they only loved you when you proved your worth to them. You have to go out and prove it to them that you love them. Like you can't just say, "Hey, mom, I love you." Like that doesn't count to them. It doesn't do anything to them. Like they like to get even with you when you did something wrong or against their will, even if it's something small. Like they make sure they punish you. Like that's uh, pretty childish, pretty petty of getting even. Even if it's some subtle or some obvious, like for instance, they may have deliberately sabotaged something you've cared about, broke something, killed an animal, you know, hid something only to get back at you. This is something else. They never respect your boundaries. They just anything that's yours, just go right through it. They'll take it, whatever. Anything private, any private space, they just muddled through it. Your parents would go through your room and private belongings without a thought. Sometimes even using what they found against you. Like obviously you're trying to hide something, and then when they find it, it's like, all right, fuck, you're already embarrassed and humiliated, and they just put it in your face, and like that's not what you're supposed to talk to your kids, man. Another thing is they compete with you. Everything's a competition. They have to be a winner. There's no losing with them. Once they lose, this is weird, but they get sick. If they don't get constant attention, like every minute of the day, they will get paralyzed where they can't even move. You'll see the therapist will come and like, who's to blame? Either the kid or the partner. And the partner, he's just been trying to just do his own thing, trying to fulfill his own needs, or even try to help the kids fulfill their needs, or to his best capabilities. But they another thing is they own your accomplishments. Like whenever someone complimented you on your achievements, your parents would instantly jump in and shift the attentions to themselves. Like for example, if someone congratulates you for winning a soccer trophy, baseball, or softball, wrestling, lacrosse, anything, your mom would come out of nowhere and say, "Oh, she gets it from me," or "I was always the athletic type," and they love the spotlight and they frequently steal it from you. Like, come on, man, kids need to feel that praise. Kids need to feel the sense of a competition because if not, then they're not going to be able to compete in the life in the workforce, like to get a great job. I know a lot of kids that are super smart, but they're just stuck at home because they don't have that confidence because of the way their parents just take the spotlight from them. They constantly and I mean constantly lie to you. They lie to manipulate and control and take advantage of you in some way, shape, or form. You never know how it's coming or whether to trust if this is real or truthful. They are always setting up hidden traps for you to fall into, and how do you live life like that, man? Like, they never listen to you or even care about your feelings. Like, you feel that you could never share your real feelings with your parents because they would either make fun of you or they would address it to their spouse and their spouse will make fun of you, and they'll switch it and then talk about themselves instead somehow. Like, and whatever issues you faced as a child were spun into a pity party, and it's just the blame or the problem. It's not even about you anymore. They'll say, "Oh, but when I was a kid," stuff like that. They'll constantly insult you, or their partner will insult you, and they are okay with it. It seems like they get a high off of it. Um, Secretly, narcissistic people they're addicted to attention. They're addicted to admiration. They're addicted to compliments. If you see a narcissistic parent by themselves for more than a week, it's impossible. It'll never happen. They always need somebody, whether it's a parent, sister, brother, cousin, random friend, random guy that all of a sudden now lives with you. Um, like, yeah, they they constantly insult you. They harass, berate you, demean. On a constant basis, they may even latch onto an insecurity about yourself that you don't like, and then they use it to humiliate you. Like, say, you wet your bed when you were younger, and then certain people come over, and then they want to talk down to you, and then they'll say, "Oh yeah, she used to wet the bed." Come on, like, that is the worst thing you want to tell a child. Like, that is so bad. Like, that can bring so much stress and drama into a child's life where they're gonna want to kill themselves. Like, because nobody wants to. As an adult, nobody wants to go through that. But as a child, where your self-esteem is not even built up yet, and for your self-esteem to constantly be broken down and stuff, it's very dangerous. They gaslight you, and by that is that in order to control you, they use the psychological manipulation tactic known as gaslighting. What this means is that they would deliberately make you feel crazy or cause you to doubt your own sanity in order to gain the upper hand. This leads to the development of constant self-doubt during your childhood, like in adolescence and your present life. Like right now, you don't even know what's good or bad. Like, you might have a drug addiction problem. Like, you might be taking pills, you might be smoking, you might be drinking, and it seems like your parents just have no care in the world because they know that they got you. You're not going to go anywhere because they've made you codependent. So that means that you can never leave the house, even if you find a great job or if you find a perfect opportunity to move out and start your own life. When you detach yourself from the parent, you you mentally will not be able to do it because you will be given that guilt trip. They parentified you. So as a child, you were expected to parent your parent. So you were the one that had to go and tuck them in, make sure they get everything done, or you had to put the little things on their feet, or you know fix their pillow. Like, come on, parents, step it up. Parents need to do that. Your mom should put you to bed, give you a kiss on the forehead, and if you're lucky, she might read you a story, sing you a lullaby, talk about your day, talk about your feelings. That's beautiful, beautiful companionship with your parent, not the other way around. That is emotional abuse.